Did you know that every few minutes, an elderly person somewhere in the world suffers a fracture caused by osteoporosis? This fact is impressive. But more than that, it reveals how this silent condition is present in the lives of millions of people, often without them realizing it. And the most curious thing is that many people who face this problem don't even suspect that some of the foods on their plate every day may be contributing to weaker bones. It may seem hard to believe, but we'll talk about it calmly. And don't worry, because by the end of this video, you'll know exactly how to protect yourself and what to do to strengthen your bones safely and naturally. Before anything else, let me tell you the story of Mrs. Carmen. She's 72 years old, and for a long time was the kind of person we admire. One of those who gets up early with energy, takes care of the house, walks to the market, makes Sunday lunch for the whole family. She has always been vain, liked to stay active and keep her health in check. She never smoked, drank water, made sure to eat well. In her mind, everything was on the right track, until the pains started. At first, they were in her back, an uncomfortable pain that appeared at the end of the day. Then came a feeling of weakness in her arms, which she attributed to age. One day, she slipped in the bathroom and fell. It wasn't a violent fall, but the scare was significant. And what worried everyone even more was the result of the exam, a fractured wrist. The doctor recommended rest and began investigating. A few months later, another fall, this time while descending a simple stair step. Another fracture, this time in the ankle. It was then that the clear diagnosis came: advanced osteoporosis. For her, that was a shock. She didn't understand how she could have developed such a disease if she did everything right. The doctor explained that over the years, her bones were losing density, and that this loss doesn't happen overnight. It's slow, silent, and by the time it manifests, it has already caused a lot of damage. Osteoporosis is like that. It doesn't show visible signs at the beginning. The person continues living normally until a simple movement, a silly stumble, or a small fall shows how fragile their bones are. And most of the time, this happens to people who believe they are taking good care of themselves. It's a disease that doesn't just choose those with bad habits. It can affect anyone, especially from the age of 60 onwards. Over time, the bone structure becomes more porous. The calcium that gives bones firmness is lost. And if the body doesn't have enough reserves, it can't maintain this solid structure. This increases the risk of fractures, especially in the hip, spine, and wrists. And with each fracture, it's not just the bone that breaks. Confidence breaks too. The person starts to fear going out alone, walking on uneven sidewalks, getting up at night to go to the bathroom. They withdraw, limiting their movements and their very life. And all of this doesn't just affect the body. It affects the mind, mood, and self-esteem. Mrs. Carmen, for example, has always been an independent woman. When she started depending on a walker, she became downcast. She was ashamed to go out on the street with it. She stopped visiting her friend who lived in the next block. She stopped going to bingo, attending Sunday Mass. She started refusing invitations to lunch with her children and grandchildren. When we lose our mobility, we also lose part of our freedom. And life, which was once colorful, fades. But most importantly of all this, and I want you to listen to this with an open heart, this reality can be transformed. It's never too late to strengthen bones. The body has an immense capacity to recover. With the right stimulus, with the right choices, it responds. It doesn't matter if you're 60, 70, or over 80 years old. There's always time to start. And most incredibly, you don't need expensive medicines or complicated solutions. Sometimes, all you need is to change small habits in your daily life. Many people associate aging with the inevitable loss of strength, but this is not a sentence. Aging is not synonymous with weakness. It's true that the body changes, that the metabolism slows down, that the muscles need more stimulation, but it's also true that the body continues to absorb nutrients, continues to respond to stimuli, continues to renew itself. And this also applies to bones. The problem is that, in many cases, even those who try to eat well end up making mistakes without realizing it. Sometimes, what seems to be a healthy choice may not be so beneficial for the bones. This doesn't mean that the person is doing something wrong on purpose. Quite the contrary. It's common for people who care about their health to adopt trendy habits or follow tips without proper guidance. And then, instead of strengthening the body, they end up disrupting the body's natural balance. That's precisely why we're here, because you deserve to know what's behind these choices. You deserve access to quality information, presented clearly and warmly. And you deserve to understand that even if today you're in pain, afraid, or have some limitation, that can change. Pain doesn't have to be part of your routine. Insecurity while walking doesn't have to accompany you every day. The worry about being a burden on your family can be replaced by the joy of being present, healthy, and energetic. Often, the solution is closer than we imagine. It's on the plate, in the choice of foods, in the way they're prepared, in the balance between what you eat and what your body needs. And the most surprising thing, some vegetables, which have been part of many people's dietary routine for decades, may be related to weakening bones. This may seem confusing at first, but it will all make sense over the course of our conversation. What matters now is knowing that there is a path. And this path begins with information. That's why in this video, with great care and respect, we're going to talk about the habits that over time may be harming your bone health. And more importantly, we're going to show what really works, what science has already proven, what people around the world are doing to regain strength, mobility, and the joy of living. But calm down. You don't need to do everything at once. What we propose here is a smooth, gradual change based on knowledge, and above all, a change with hope. Because taking care of your health is not an obligation. It's a gift you give yourself. It's a gesture of self-love. And when we take care of ourselves, everything around us improves too. It's natural for you to have doubts. Maybe you're thinking that you've tried everything, that you've been through doctors, that you've taken medications and supplements. Maybe you think there's no way out, but there is. There always is. What is often lacking is a complete vision, one that unites nutrition, movement, and knowledge. When these three pillars come together, the result appears. So stay with me. In the next few minutes, you're going to better understand what's behind the loss of bone mass and what factors contribute to it. You'll discover which behaviors, even well-intentioned ones, may be hindering calcium absorption and weakening your bones. And most importantly, you'll learn how to reverse this situation with simple and accessible actions. Before getting into the solutions, it's essential to understand why even people who are careful with their diet are facing this problem. After all, how is it possible that someone who eats fruits, vegetables, gets sun exposure, and walks every day still suffers from osteoporosis? The answer lies in details that almost no one explains. And it is precisely these details that we will discuss in the next section. Now that you understand the importance of this topic and how it can impact your quality of life, it's time to take a step forward. In the next section, we'll delve into the most common causes of osteoporosis, the frequent mistakes made without realizing it, and why it's so important to look at your diet with more attention and care. Stay with me, because the best is yet to come. Osteoporosis is a condition that arises when the body loses more bone tissue than it can replace, and this happens largely due to an imbalance between the intake of minerals and the body's ability to absorb these nutrients. After the age of 60, this process accelerates, and if the body is not prepared, bone mass loss occurs silently. By the time a person realizes it, they are already suffering from pain, fractures, or limited mobility. Calcium is the main mineral involved in the formation and maintenance of bones. But it doesn't act alone. The body needs to be in a condition to absorb this calcium, distribute it correctly, and fix it in the bone structures. This is where vitamin D, magnesium, phosphorus, and of course dietary habits come into play. Many elderly people believe they are eating well by including plenty of vegetables in their routine, which in theory is great. But what not everyone knows is that some of these vegetables contain substances that hinder calcium absorption. And this, over time, can contribute to weakening bones. That's right. Some vegetables, when consumed in excess or in the wrong way, end up having the opposite effect than expected. And this is one of the major misconceptions in today's diet. People who, with all good intention, have adopted a diet rich in leaves, seeds, and specific vegetables, believing they are doing the best for their body, may be creating a blockage in the absorption of essential minerals. The explanation lies in two natural compounds found in certain vegetables: oxalates and phytates. Oxalates bind to calcium in the intestine and form a kind of crystal that the body cannot absorb. This means that even if you are ingesting calcium through food or supplements, it may be discarded by your body without being utilized, simply because the presence of oxalates is blocking its absorption. As for phytates, present in whole grains, seeds, and some vegetables, they act in a similar way. They bind to important minerals such as calcium, iron, and zinc, preventing them from being effectively utilized by the body. And what are these vegetables? We will not reveal their names yet, because we want you to understand the reasoning behind this first. The most important thing here is to know that excess and repetition are the true villains. When a person consumes the same leaves, the same green juices, and the same preparations every day, they are creating an eating pattern that favors the accumulation of these substances in the body. And this will, little by little, sabotage bone health. Let's think about a common situation. Imagine a person who wakes up every day and drinks a green juice on an empty stomach made with raw leaves, seeds, and lemon. Then at lunch, they always put the same vegetables on their plate, usually raw as well. At dinner, they repeat the pattern, believing they are maintaining a light and healthy diet. Now imagine this repeating for weeks, months, years. This habit, no matter how well-intentioned, may be making it difficult to absorb calcium day after day. Another example. There are those who believe that the more green leaves on the plate, the better. And in many respects this is true: fibers, vitamins, antioxidants. But caution is needed. Some dark vegetables, for example, are champions in oxalate concentration. And excessive consumption, especially when these leaves are ingested raw, means the intestine cannot take advantage of the calcium from foods or supplements the person takes. It's like trying to refuel a car with a leaky tank. You're putting in the right fuel, but it's not staying there. Furthermore, another common mistake is to ignore how foods are prepared. Many vegetables that are rich in oxalates or phytates have these compounds reduced when cooked. This means that when prepared with heat, some of these substances are neutralized or discarded with the cooking water. But out of ignorance, many people continue to consume these vegetables raw, believing they are keeping the nutrients intact. The truth is that in this specific case, cooking is a great ally of bone health. Now, think with me. How many times have you heard someone say they're feeling tired, with constant joint pain, or that they suffered a fracture from a small movement, even though they're eating properly? These complaints are becoming increasingly common and often come from people who follow an eating routine with lots of vegetables, little protein, little calcium, and no specialized monitoring. Another factor that aggravates this scenario is the lack of variety. When we always repeat the same foods, we fail to provide the body with the diversity of nutrients it needs, and this applies to all food groups. In the case of vegetables, variation is essential. Each leaf, each vegetable, each seed has a different nutrient and compound profile, and it is this diversity that guarantees balance. A colorful plate with different foods throughout the week offers far more benefits than a plate that is always green, always the same. There is also one more point that needs to be mentioned. Many trendy diets encourage cutting out important foods like dairy, eggs, and derivatives. At the same time, they reinforce the consumption of specific vegetables that, although nutritious in many ways, do not favor calcium absorption. The result is a dangerous imbalance. People who eliminate traditional calcium sources from their diet and increase, without criteria, the consumption of raw leafy greens and seeds may be walking straight into bone frailty without realizing it. In addition to bone mass loss, this type of diet can cause other warning signs: constant back or joint pain, feelings of weakness in the legs and arms, hunched posture, inexplicable fatigue. These symptoms are often attributed to normal aging, but in fact indicate that the body is suffering from a lack of essential nutrients and poor absorption caused by misguided habits. But again, it's important to remember all of this can be resolved. Many people go through this and make these mistakes without realizing it. But don't worry, because in the next block, we'll talk about what really works. What you can do to regain bone strength with small, simple, and accessible changes. The good news is that there is a path. And in the next block, you'll learn about the vegetables that deserve attention. And most importantly, what to do to protect your health safely and naturally. We'll talk about how to prepare these foods properly, which combinations favor calcium absorption, and what should be avoided in daily life so that your bones become stronger, more resistant, and healthier. Stay with me, because now that you understand how some eating habits, even with good intentions, may be hindering the health of your bones, you're ready to discover, with clarity and confidence, what can truly transform your life. The next step is to learn how to assemble the right plate, at the right time, with the right ingredients. And this is simpler than it seems. It's in the next block that all of this is revealed. Now the most anticipated moment has arrived. The time to turn knowledge into action. Because information alone only has power when we decide to put it into practice. And what we're going to share here can make a huge difference in your life, and in the lives of those you love. Now tell me here in the comments. First, where are you from, and also if you've already tried any of these solutions or identified with any part of the story. We've talked a lot up until now about the risk of calcium loss, dietary mistakes, and how some seemingly healthy habits can actually be hindering the health of your bones. And now, calmly and clearly, we'll reveal the 5 vegetables that deserve attention. This doesn't mean you need to eliminate them from your diet, but rather learn how to consume them in the right way, in the right amount, and at the right time. Let's start with spinach. It's certainly rich in nutrients, but it's also one of the champions in oxalate. This substance binds to calcium and prevents it from being absorbed by the body. In other words, if you frequently eat raw spinach, especially in green juices or salads, you may be hindering calcium absorption without realizing it. The ideal in this case is to cook the spinach, as heat helps reduce the amount of oxalate present. Additionally, it's interesting to vary with other leaves that are less concentrated in this compound, such as escarole or watercress. If this made sense to you, share it with someone who also needs this information. It can make all the difference. The second vegetable is beets. Many people love to include raw beets in salads or in their morning juice, and although they have many benefits, they also contain oxalates in high concentrations. Once again, the problem is not with the food itself, but with excess and repetition. The ideal is not to consume raw beets every day. Cooking them and alternating with other vegetables can be a good way to continue taking advantage of their nutrients without harming the bones. Next, we have chard. Little is said about it, but chard is also rich in oxalates. Like spinach and beets, it should be consumed in moderation, preferably cooked, and never as a daily base for green juices or raw salads. A suggestion is to alternate its use with leaves like collard greens, which also have oxalates, but in lesser amounts, and always pay attention to the preparation. The fourth vegetable on our list is okra. Despite being tasty and very present in the cuisine of several countries, okra also has compounds that interfere with calcium absorption, especially when consumed in large quantities and with little variation on the plate. Sautéing, boiling, and avoiding daily consumption are practical ways to continue including this food in your diet without harming bone health. And the fifth food that deserves attention is rhubarb. It is not so common in some regions, but where it is present, it is usually consumed in pies, jams, and even teas. Rhubarb has one of the highest concentrations of oxalate among vegetables. Therefore, especially for people at risk of osteoporosis, consumption should be very controlled. Even when cooked, it still carries high amounts of these compounds. In this case, the best option may be to replace it with other, safer fruits and roots for the bones. Now that you know these 5 vegetables and understand why they can affect calcium absorption, it's time to learn how to build a diet that favors your bone health. The first tip is to balance the plate with calcium-rich foods that are well absorbed by the body. Milk, Plain yogurt, white cheese, and tofu are excellent sources, and there's no need to overdo it. A portion at each meal may already be enough to meet a good part of your daily needs. It is also essential to ensure the presence of vitamin D, which helps the body absorb calcium more efficiently. The main source of vitamin D is sunlight. Just 15 to 20 minutes of sun per day, at the right times, and with a small area of skin exposed, makes all the difference. For those living in regions with little sun exposure, supplementation may be necessary, but always with professional guidance. Another essential nutrient is magnesium, present in foods like avocado, banana, almonds, pumpkin seeds, and chickpeas. It participates in the fixation of calcium in the bones and strengthens the bone structure as a whole. Vitamin K2, found in green vegetables and eggs, also acts in this process and can be a great reinforcement in your diet. Avoid consuming too much coffee, as well as very salty, processed, or cured foods. Sodium and caffeine in large quantities cause the body to eliminate more calcium through urine. And this is one of the reasons why people with diets rich in salt and coffee have more difficulty maintaining healthy bones. In addition to nutrition, regular exercise is one of the most powerful tools for protecting bones. Daily walks help maintain bone density and improve balance, reducing the risk of falls. Resistance exercises, such as using light elastic bands or your own body weight, stimulate the formation of new bone mass. And stretching brings more mobility, flexibility, and comfort to everyday life. You don't need to change everything at once. Just take one step at a time. With small daily actions, your bones can strengthen and your life can gain much more lightness and freedom. And if you're liking these tips, click like, subscribe, and turn on the bell to receive more health and wellness content. Even if today you feel your bones are weaker, know that it's never too late to regain your strength and confidence. Small changes in your diet, body movement, and how you take care of yourself can bring about great transformations. The independence that seemed distant can become a reality again. The desire to walk firmly, to go out and watch the sunset, to play with your grandchildren without fear, all of this is within your reach. You deserve to live with security, joy, and autonomy. With every choice you make for yourself, your body responds with more energy, more stability, and more willingness. And this can start today, right now. And if you want to resolve this for good, check out the link we've left here in the description with more detailed guidance. Your health is not in the past. It can start now. With a little information, willingness, and affection, everything changes. Take care of yourself with kindness, go at your own pace, but don't neglect to take care of yourself. Remember that the path to health is made up of simple yet powerful daily choices. Perfection and haste are not required. What is needed is presence. Being present in taking care of what you eat, in the time you set aside to move, in the way you look at yourself. You've already faced so many things in life, overcome challenges, taken care of so many people. Now is the time to take care of the one who has always taken care, you. If at any moment you felt alone on this journey, know that there are thousands of people like you, rediscovering the joy of living with more lightness, more security, and more health. Each step you take towards your well-being is a victory. And every victory, no matter how small it may seem, builds a more active, more confident, and happier life. You are not alone. We are here to walk by your side with respect, affection, and information. Your body still has much to offer. Your story continues, and it can be even more beautiful from here on out.